Furmation of Rome is a 2 to 4 player game that plays around 10 to 20 minutes. Your goal is to have the most points. You gain points by collecting influence tokens and satisfying monuments. Now let us learn what is on a card. On a citizen card, you will see the class name, player count, card effect, class icon and class rank. On a monument card, you will see the player count and the scoring requirement. On a reference card you will see the number of cards in the deck, the player actions, and the player count. In this game the setup will vary based on the number of players. To set up a 2-player game, form the deck by shuffling all the cards without the player count icon. Then return one card without looking at it back to the box. For a 3-player game, you will shuffle all cards except for those with the 4-player count icons to form the deck. Then return one card without looking at it back into the box. And lastly, for a 4-player game, form the deck by shuffling all the cards together. Then return one card without looking at it back to the box. After setting up the deck, deal 3 cards to each player. These are your hand cards. Next, reveal 3 cards from the top of the deck and set them next to it. These are known as the trail cards. Then deal 1 reference card to each player. Lastly, place all the influence tokens in the middle of the table. Return the brigand token back to the box if you are playing a 2 or 3-player game. Before we jump into the game, let me explain what you are fighting for. In a 2-player game, both players are fighting to control the most influence tokens. You will take control of an influence token when you have the majority of that citizen class between both players. Each player will go through 3 phases of play before passing their turn. The 3 phases are action phase, influence phase, and draw phase. At the start of the game, pick a starting player, then play will proceed clockwise. During the action phase, you can choose between settling a card or playing a card. For this example, let us start by settling a card. Pick a card from your hand and place it in your play area known as your district. Then we will move to the influence phase. Check who has the majority of citizens of each class. After that, distribute the influence tokens accordingly. The last phase before ending your turn is the draw phase. Simply take a card from the trail and refill it from the deck. After that, pass your turn to the next player. On this player's action phase, let us use the play a card action. The effect of this card is to discard a face-up citizen card. They will choose to discard your console, then it will be discarded after using its effect. During the influence phase, we will check for citizen majority again. Since there are no consoles in both players' district, the influence token will be returned to the middle of the table. Their turn ends after they draw a card from the trail. Then the game will continue until the end game condition is triggered. The game ends when there are no more cards in the deck and trail. Before scoring, each player will settle all the cards in their hand. Then we will go through the influence phase one last time. Now we can start scoring. You get 1 point for each influence token under your control. In the case of a tie, the winner is determined by the player who controls the highest ranking influence token. That is how you play a 2-player game of Furmation of Rome. 3 and 4 players play mostly the same, but with additional cards and new mechanics. Monuments are introduced into 3 and 4 player games. They are an additional scoring option besides influence tokens. The only difference between monuments and citizens is that monuments do not have a card effect. Instead, they have a scoring requirement. You can settle them into your district during the action phase using the settle action. To satisfy a monument's requirement is simply by having the citizens shown in the requirements in your district. At the end of the game during scoring, each monument will score 1 point if they have their requirements satisfied. One citizen may be used to satisfy multiple monuments. Brigands are only used in a 4-player game. They are citizens with no card effects. However, they break the normal convention of settling a card, whereby they are settled in other players' district instead, because their influence token is worth -1 point at the end of the game. And that is how you play Furmation of Rome. I hope you enjoy your game and stay tuned for more future releases.